Spoilercast!
It's the Spoilercast!
Spoilercast!
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
New Spoilercast. Game of Thrones Season 4, Episode the 5th.
Episode the 5th?
On the 5th of May. Oh my god! Oh my god!
Oh my god, it's like we planned it or something.
It's like Cinco de Trono.
It's like we planned it or something. But
Yeah.
we didn't, actually. No, I'm being serious. We actually didn't plan that.
No, Jesus planned this because he invented our calendar.
He invented our calendar.
By being born.
Welcome again, everybody. If you don't know what the Spoilercast is, why haven't you been watching our episodes? You can go back and watch the first episode and know exactly what it is.
Yeah, you can watch it, listen to it, talk with your friends, you can gab around the water cooler about Game of Thrones and those guys doing the Spoilercast talking about Game of Thrones. It's pretty cool stuff. We think it's cool.
This week's episode,
first of his name, obviously about King Tommen.
King Tommen!
And his loyal right hand, Sir Pounce.
Sir Pounce, yes, of course. We can't forget Sir Pounce.
Sir Pounce is the most important person in the kingdom.
He is officially king now.
Yep.
Not just waiting to become king.
Yep. He just couldn't wait to be king.
Oh, I see what you did there. I saw it.
Pun.
But yeah, so he's now officially king. Cersei was really actually a lot cooler about.
Well, she's no dummy.
Oh yeah.
She understands completely that they are at a very weak point right now, especially after talking to her father and finding out that they haven't even mined gold out of their mines for like 3 years. Like, the well ran dry.
Right.
And they've been borrowing money from the Iron Bank of Bravos. A tremendous amount. Which is why they need the Tyrells, because they got some loot. So, now that she's kind of had a powwow with her dad about what's going on, she's starting to realize, okay, we're in a very, compromisable position right now, so I need to stop taking everything personal and get some business done.
Right.
And she did. She got a lot of business done this episode. Cersei was like the business pro.
Yeah, she was on it.
She was talking to Marjorie. She was talking to Oberyn. She was talking to her dad. She was going around making these little wheelin' dealings. She was like one of those people on Storage Wars, and like everybody, going to each of the lockers and bidding on them, and then making deals for people like, oh, you want this from this locker? Give me $20. You can have this old TV. That's exactly what happened, by the way. Spoilers.
Yeah,
she sold the TV to Prince Oberyn for $20.
Which was really amazing because you don't have many TVs in Winterfell.
No, especially old ones.
Yeah,
you think, but
yeah, not at all.
actually, the crux of her visit with Oberyn was really just to kind of see how her daughter was. She really was talking to him, trying to basically. Because he's a judge, so she's trying to
get on his good side.
Yeah, she's trying to wine and dine the judges of the trial because she doesn't want anything to go
awry. Yeah.
She doesn't want anything to go pro-Tyrion.
Right.
So she's trying to be sympathetic and also to share, kind of with Oberyn, like, oh, I know you lost your sister, you couldn't protect her no matter despite how powerful you were. I lost my son, I couldn't protect him no matter how powerful my family is. We understand, and I just miss my daughter so much.
Feel bad for me.
And then she built her a ship.
And then she did build her a ship.
And it was a nice ship too. I wouldn't mind having that ship.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So Oberyn's gonna send the ship down to Myrcella, down Dorne, who's apparently just having a gay old time, splashing around in the pools, hanging out with Oberyn's bastard daughters. So
sounds like a good time.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like she's pretty much got the equivalent of a Caribbean cruise right now. Right. So she's just chilling, splashing, living la vida loca. I think I said that a few times before. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I always associate Dorne with Cancun.
With Cancun.
Or Cozumel, it's someplace. It's very close, but it's very exotic.
It's very exotic.
So that's what's going on there. Cersei basically told Marjorie straight up if you want to still be queen, that's fine.
It's yes.
she saw Marjorie making eyes at Tommen while he's on the throne. They were like looking at each other, like doing little schoolboy, eyeing each other from across the room.
We're looking at each other through the corners of our eyes.
Well, not on the corners. They're dead on, like locked eyes. Like while Tommen's greeting people like notaries at the throne. He's sitting on the throne. He looked good sitting in that throne. He was all sitting up straight, good posture, looked regal. Good boy. He learned well from his septa.
I loved that shot too when he looks away to go back to what he's doing and Cersei just steps in between them.
She just steps into frame. It's like you. And I think my exact reaction when that happened was I went "Banana." But you think Cersei's going over there to be awful, but then she ends up actually being really almost too nice.
Right.
So you can tell Marjorie was really off their own, because then Cersei starts shit-talking Joffrey. And so, in that moment, Marjorie's like, oh, fuck, what do I say?
Right, exactly.
She has no frame of reference for this. She doesn't know how to react.
No, he was a monster.
Yeah.
He shocked me.
His behavior shocked me. And you know how hard it is to shock me? I fucked my brother.
Right, exactly.
So... yeah, it was interesting. I really, I never hated Cersei. I always thought her character was, really complex. I just felt like they always kind of wrote her really poorly at times. Like, she'd be too much of a caricature of, an evil, manipulative witch.
Right.
Like, this episode, we got to see Cersei, why she's, been able to be so influential and powerful again.
Right.
Because she has that charming side that makes you go, aw, she's not that bad. And then, it's like... forgetting that, oh yeah, she's poisonous.
Right.
She'll bite you.
My problem with Cersei was I don't think that as a character and as a person she's really relatively evil. She's just entitled. But then, whatever reason it was, when Joffrey was around and he was becoming king, she just became awful all the time. And it was like, now Joffrey's gone, it's just kind of she's like, okay, I'm getting back into where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing again.
She got arrogant.
Yeah.
She got very arrogant once her husband died, and it was like, my son's going to be king, and my son, listens to me.
Right.
She let the power go to her head.
Right.
And she didn't put her foot down with Joffrey like she should have, because she was enjoying the position too much. But now that, like I said, she realizes that she's in a very vulnerable spot.
Right.
I think she's kind of back to having a little bit more humility and having to work for what she wants.
Right.
And that's always a good thing. People always perform their best when they're under, threats or when they have to actually deal with conflict and stuff standing in their way. When you have nothing standing in their way, we see it all the time with, the wealthiest people. When you have nothing literally standing in the way of what you want, you become so awful about getting things. You assume that you should just be given stuff because you should have it.
Right.
You get this weird mindset.
You get that entitlement.
Yeah, and it's not even just that. This is weird. It's a disconnect with reality that happens when you have the ability to do or to obtain whatever you desire at that moment without having to earn it or wait or anything like that. It causes a disconnect, and it's actually been a sociological study. They've shown that wealthy people don't understand reality like they used to when they were still hungry and maybe didn't have as much money.
Right.
There's just you become disconnected.
Right.
And that happened to her. And now we're seeing after Joffrey died, she went through her period of extreme grief, anger, and now she's kind of realizing, okay, it's time to get back to work.
Right.
Because I guarantee you, she wasn't like that her whole life. When she first got married to Robert, she tried to make it work, and she actually did the work, she got jaded, and then eventually the position kind of began to influence her instead of her influencing the position.
Right.
So
breaking glass.
Yeah.
Anyway, we also got to see what's been going on with the Hound and Arya.
Yeah. A lot of cussing and smack talking and snarking and punching each other.
Pretty much. The Hound found out that he's on her list in this episode.
Yeah, which
apparently
was hilarious. He's like, go on. She's doing her list thing before she goes to sleep. She's like, I have to say the names. And he's like, shut up, blah, 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 being being cross. And then finally, he gets to the point where he's like, well, god damn it, just finish it so we can go to sleep.
Right.
And she's like, I only have one name left. He's like, get on with it. And she's like, the Hound. And he just looks at her like, actually incredulous, like, what?
I'm like, really?
Me? What?
You think that?
What did I do?
I'm gonna wake up the next day and she's practicing her water dancing.
Mm-hmm. Which was amazing. Just you can tell she's done a lot of work with that. Like, they've really had her working hard doing that, because it was smooth. It looked really cool. She was doing like one-handed cartwheels, holding a sword in the other hand. I mean, she looked like a boss.
I've noticed that Needle is very small compared to the size at the beginning of the series when she was first given it, because the actress has grown.
Yeah, no,
so
Needle, the prop stayed the same size.
Yeah, the prop stayed the same size.
The problem is that Maisie Williams is not 4 feet tall and like 60 pounds.
Because when she was doing all that, I was like, oh, that's cool. I was like, but her sword looks really, really small.
Well,
like,
it's
really small.
It's bigger than a dagger, smaller than a sword. It's like that in between. And you think about it, for the style of fighting, obviously she does. It's probably the perfect size, because it's light and it's very fluid, and it's going to be very versatile.
Right. Because
you can use it in a lot of different ways. You can use it extremely up close, or you can use it kind of at arm's length to help deflect blows and stuff.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see, hopefully, because I don't know where it goes.
The Hound wasn't that impressed.
No, Hound was not impressed.
Hound was unimpressed by her water dancing. He went so far as to basically rip on Syrio, which no. And now
Master Swordsman.
Now he's on my list.
How did he die if he's a Master Swordsman?
Yeah, he's the greatest swordsman alive. How did he die? It's like, oh well, this guy Meereen Trent killed him.
Like Meereen Trent?
Yeah. Of course, you gotta keep in mind that the Hound's been around these idiots for a while, so he's like, that fucking guy?
It's like, he was outnumbered. He's a Master Swordsman.
He didn't have a sword.
Pah!
He's like, Master Swordsman without a sword. And like, it's true, but it's like, it's one of those things where you try to tell the story and like without context, and of course they're like, oh, you. And it's like, God, fuck you, Hound.
Exactly.
You know what I mean.
You know what I mean. Stop making fun of me.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And then she tries to stab him, but he has armor and he punches her. And he's like, Meereen Trent beat the greatest swordsman alive because he had fucking armor. And then walks off, and it's like, man.
Armor and a big-ass sword. That's what he had.
Armor and a big-ass sword.
And a big-ass sword. And he just turns around and walks off.
Yeah. Fuck you, Hound. Fuck you, man.
But what else happened in this episode?
Daenerys has decided that she, rather than moving on to Westeros, even though this would be a very opportune time, she's decided that she's going to stay in Meereen and rule as queen. Her logic being that because the other cities in Slaver's Bay have basically already been overthrown and gone back into chaos, or the people that were in charge before she got there. Right. She's like, how can I rule 7 kingdoms if I can't rule, Slaver's Bay, or even one city? Right. So she's gonna stay put and actually try ruling instead of just being a conqueror and moving on. Like, she was doing you can tell that her mindset before was heavily influenced by her time with the Dothraki. She would pillage and move on. Right. That's what the Dothraki always did. They had no home. Right. They were just constantly on the move, and whatever town they came across, they'd demand tribute or they'd sack it. Right. And they'd just keep going. So she's kind of realized that if I want to be the ruler of the 7 Kings, if I want to take my home back, I can't do it like a Dothraki. Right. I have to rule like they would rule there.
They said they could probably take King's Landing, but even if they did, no one would bend to her knee, bend to her rule.
Jorah had the very astute thing saying that the houses will fall behind whoever they think's going to win. Right. Because, duh. Right. You don't want to be on the wrong side of a war. Right. Especially when beheadings are so in fashion. Exactly. So, yeah, she's going to go ahead and stay put, take a crack at ruling a city, ruling the area of Slaver's Bay, and learn, learn a new way of being, not just being the Khaleesi or mother, but being queen. Right. Which means she's going to see a lot of ugly shit. We saw it in first season when Ned was the hand and he had to take over when Robert was out hunting and then dying. Sitting on that throne is not peachy. No, not at all. It's not easy. You deal with a lot of shit. A lot of shit that you would never want to deal with. you probably don't even think you should deal with.
Right.
But she's going to have to learn that lesson if she wants to rule all 7 kingdoms of Westeros.
All 7 kingdoms of Westeros. So I'm really interested to see where this is going to go from now. Because she just shifted focus from getting the 7 kingdoms back to now becoming a ruler of her own. So,
and you know what? In her defense, it's not like she has a timetable.
Right.
Her dragons are still growing.
Right.
So in reality, the longer she waits, the more likely
they'll get.
Yeah, the more likely they'll become better weapons. And plus, then they can become big enough. She can just ride them into battle.
Right.
Who wants to fucking ride a horse when you can ride a dragon? So it's almost to her benefit to kind of chill out. Let her power kind of coalesce. You know, maybe bring more people in, get more ships, maybe. Yeah. And plus, if she's staying put, you know, who knows? There, people in Westeros that maybe are still loyal to Targaryen rule, or would rather prefer. They know where to find her now. They might send some people over to say, do some under the table dealings, like, not saying that we're going to support you, but if you came back, we probably wouldn't support the other guy. Right. So that can definitely open new possibilities as far as even diplomatic stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So it should
maybe she can get an audience with Littlefinger because that motherfucker.
Littlefinger is like, this
whole something new about him every week.
This whole show, we thought like Ned Stark was the main character. We thought Tyrion was the main character. We thought Cersei was the main character. Right. Jaime was the main character. Wrong. Peter Baelish is the main character.
Peter Baelish is the main character of this.
Everything that's ever happened on the show has been because of him.
This week we found out a big thing that happened that he was part of, that he was responsible for.
Go ahead, Danny. Why don't you explain to them what the fuck happened this time?
So the very first episode of the very first season, very first chapter of the book, I'm sure even.
Close to.
Very close to. This all came about, all this happened because Ned Stark received this letter stating that he needed to come to King's Landing and he needed to figure out what was going on and that the bloodline was strong. And we now found out who sent that letter, who ended up killing the Hand of the King.
Jon Arryn.
All in this episode. And it turned out to be fucking Littlefinger.
He
perpetrated
didn't
it.
kill nobody.
He didn't kill anyone.
He orchestrated it. Who actually poisoned Jon Arryn?
That would have been the leader of the area. I can't think of her name right now off the top of my head.
Would that have been his wife, Lysa, Catelyn's little sister?
Yes, Lysa.
Lysa Arryn killed Jon Arryn before the show even fucking started, and then sent that letter. The Lannisters killed her husband, and then she had fled. All under Littlefinger's direction. Right. Because she's in love with Littlefinger.
And she's crazily in love with him.
And they got married this episode.
They did
with
get married.
With the quickness. Oh, and by the way, Sansa was there too.
Yeah, Sansa's now in the Eyrie. So.
Yeah, Sansa and Littlefinger made it to the Eyrie. Sansa got to meet her cousin, Robin, who then threw something out the moon door, a gift he had just received. And then he pouted when he had to show her off
and then
to her rooms.
We also, that's that whole family, man. That like...
The Aarons,
yeah, the Aarons, they're really kind of odd.
Yeah, they're fucked up. I like the threat she made before the wedding ceremony that she's going to scream so loud tonight they'll hear us across the narrow sea. And then the next thing they cut to Sansa trying to sleep and you can just hear Lysa screaming her head off. Sansa's just like, should have stayed. I don't know if I should have stayed in King Landing.
Right.
She had that look like, being married to Tyrion wasn't that fucking bad. It wasn't this loud.
Well, we found out that Sansa was accused by her aunt of having sex with Peter.
Yeah. Lysa, you can tell, was a little
unstable.
Yeah.
She's a little unstable.
Extremely jealous. Because you look at it from her point of view. She explains it. She's like, Peter loved my sister, not me. And then my sister went for Brandon Stark. Not Brandon, like Ned's older brother, Brandon, who almost killed Peter in a duel, and Catelyn didn't care, and so then Lysa was the one that comforted Peter back then. They actually hooked up way back then.
They had their wedding night years ago.
They had their wedding, when they were teenagers. As they put it. So she's extremely protective and jealous, and she's like, why does he care about you so much, Sansa? Why? And then, Sansa's, like, trying to BS an answer, like, because she really doesn't know.
Yeah.
Or she suspects that maybe he, like, wants to hook up with her, but she can't say it to her aunt.
Right.
So she's trying to BS an answer. She's like, and then finally Sansa kind of retreats into, like, I think it was an act, but, like, the panic mode where she's like, he calls me stupid and I don't know what, he just says I'm so dumb.
She starts crying.
Yeah, like, just basically starts being self-depreciating and saying all the negative things Peter's ever said. And then Lysa all of a sudden is like, oh, there. And it's like, oh, shit, crazy town.
It's okay. Your husband will soon be dead and you'll be free to marry your cousin.
Yeah, you can marry Robin. And then they pull on Sansa's face and she's just like...
Oh, God.
Like, it was like, that haunted look.
Right.
Man.
Man.
It's like, well, at least he didn't have to marry Joffrey.
Right.
Although, honestly, that really wasn't that bad a deal.
No, it was not.
So maybe you should have stuck that out.
But, yeah, that's we got to also see what was going on north of the wall as well.
Yeah, Craster's Keep. That lovely little pearl of a location.
Right.
Yep. People were still being shitty there. You could say, our favorite new character, had everything on lockdown.
Oh.
Until Bran warged into Hodor. And then he got unlocked.
So in this episode...
Get it? Because his name is Locke. Hodor, Bran warged into Hodor and unlocked his head from his neck.
His head from his neck, yeah. So yeah, the Night Watch got there. The fight scene between Jon and the butcher, what's his name? I can't think of his name now.
I know. The thing is, it's Carl. His name is Carl from like Silk Alley. It's like, he has such a plain name that you forget it. You're so used to, like, these grandiose names. His name was fucking Carl with a K.
Right. And, he even, like, that was an awesome fight scene because it was Jon who was properly trained to fight against a guy that's, would kill people in alleyways. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he was a knight in training versus someone who's a cutthroat, an assassin, a pickpocket. At one point he spits in Jon's eyes and trips him to try to take him out.
Right.
He's like, fighting with honor is stupid.
Right. Hound
would agree.
Yes, he would.
So would Bronn. Remember Bronn when he talked about people have fought with honor?
Yeah.
Yeah, they followed the moon door.
Did you hit me with my own hand?
Yeah. But surprisingly, and I like this a lot, the fight turned when one of Craster's wives or daughters, whatevers, stabbed him, Carl in the back. Carl turns around and looks at her like, what the fuck? And then he's going to go kill her. And then all of a sudden, a giant sword explodes out his fucking mouth.
Yes. Through the back of the head and out the mouth.
I'm not putting a picture of that up on YouTube, by the way. I don't want to get banned.
You don't want to,
it's extremely gruesome. But, yeah. It basically, a sword goes in through the top of the back of the head, comes out the mouth, about 5-6 inches. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Yeah, no, he's dead.
And, meanwhile, Locke had snuck in there ahead. He was doing, like, recon. And, he saw that, Bran was in there with, Jojen and Mira. And Mira was about to get the rape put on her by Carl. Luckily, then the Night's Watch showed up.
Right at that moment, yeah.
The cavalry, but not before Jojen told him, I see you dying tonight, and I see you burning, and I see the snow burying your bones. Right. Which was badass because it actually made Carl kind of look. He actually looked like he was questioning shit for a second there, But yeah, so Locke goes in there, frees Bran. Under the assumption at first, I'm with the Night's Watch, I'm with Jon. And of course, Bran's like, Jon's here! Right. But, he wants to kill Bran because he's with the Boltons.
That's what he was sent to do. That's why he went to the Night's Watch.
So, what Bran does what he can do, and he wargs into Hodor. Hodor breaks free of the chains and then kills Locke. In a gruesome manner.
Yes, in a pretty gruesome manner.
And then he's starting to crawl back towards Jon. And Jojen stops him, saying he can't know you're here because he won't let you go. Continue north. He'll take you back to the Castle. He'll make you go back. He won't let you leave. So you can either go with your brother or you can find the three-eyed crow. Right. So he has to make the hard choice of leaving the only family he's seen in months behind. And my heart broke a little right there. It's like,
oh yeah, definitely. Bran's been through a lot.
Yeah,
a lot. And it's sad to see him get so close to someone.
Yeah.
From his past life, that he can't.
It was like Arya at the Red Wedding. She was right there.
She was right there.
But then it's like, nope, gotta go. So that was rough, and it was interesting, the way they did I'd like to see the Night's Watch being proactive and taking out the mutineers. Mm-hmm. In the books, it's different. Right. And now that this is all over, I'm going to go ahead and explain a little bit. And I think it explains why they added a different scene in a previous episode. In the books, the mutineers, and the wives are basically just out there doing their thing. They're ignored, basically, by the Night's Watch. They're too busy getting ready for this attack that's coming from the wildlings. Right. So, the White Walkers come to Craster's Keep and kill everybody and reanimate them. Like, they get taken by the White Walkers, and that's that in the book. So, in a way, the show almost is more merciful because the wives actually at least have a chance at freedom here. Right. The women, while they choose not to go back to Castle Black, they have an option of what they're going to actually live. In the book, they didn't. In the book, they died with the mutineers when the White Walkers took Craster's Keep, which is fucked up. So, and then I think because they decided not to do that, they decided to make the Night's Watch proactive and give them more stuff to do. That's why they added that scene with the White Walkers with the baby. Because they didn't want the White Walkers to not be in the season. Right. Because that would have been the scene. It would have been the White Walkers taking the keep. Would have been the White Walker crazy scene. They wanted to give us something different. So I think that's why that scene is there now, is because they modified that part of the story. Right. And I actually have to say I prefer it this way over the book. I like the Night's Watch actively taking care of their own mess, their own problems. Mess and cleaning up their own problems. Yeah, I like Jon having the foresight and the bravery to say, I need to go, we need to take care of this. These people betrayed us. We have to deal with it. It also gives you a sense that because he asked for volunteers because they wouldn't send them, that the Brotherhood does trust Jon. You know what I mean? And that's something that they need to build, especially since he's been gone with the wildlings for so long last season. So like a season and a half almost. Right. Yeah. So I definitely feel like that was an improvement over the book. The book is more haunting to have that, where they just kind of get wiped out quietly in secret. But this is better for developing, Jon's story and even Bran's story. In Bran's story, once he passes Sam and goes through the wall, that's it. He doesn't really see another human being again. Right, until they get to like it all? Like, not at all? I don't know. Oh, well, I mean, who knows what the fuck is going on up there? Maybe what you'd even classify this shit as. Right. But, yeah, so having him, make the choice, like he sees his brother right there, and then he still chooses to go. It definitely it adds to Bran's character, and it shows where it gives you more where he's at too. Right. Whereas before it wasn't even an option. He was just going. He didn't have any distractions. He didn't have any of that last temptation stuff. Right, that he's got now. So it definitely improved Jon and Bran's story. It improved the story of the Night's Watch itself. Right, and then they were able to write out this character Locke, who was added to the show because they couldn't figure out a way to add in these mercenaries. Right. So they're like, okay, he's pretty much served his purpose. He betrayed Jon's trust even though Jon didn't know. But he's gone. Hodor and Bran saved him, or saved themselves. So. And then they released Summer and Ghost. And Ghost took care of one of the stranglers from Mutineers, Rask, the testicle. And we got they got them reunited. So Jon Snow and Ghost are reunited. And now, I'm not ashamed to admit I went, oh, when Ghost and Jon were nose to nose, and he's like, I missed you, boy. Right. It's like as a pet owner, you know that feel. Right. You know that feel perfectly. The only other thing I can think of in this episode that they did was Brienne and Brienne and Pod, our favorite new sitcom. It was just a little bit of character building for the two of them. He can't ride a horse. He can't cook a rabbit. He can't do anything except kill Kingsguard.
Mm-hmm. But he let his loyalty show. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, as a squire, and I think that's their whole scene and everything about them was about.
I love that question. She's like, "Why don't you just leave then?" And he's like, "Because then they'll say I was a bad squire."
Right.
That simplicity that it kind of is often missing in a show from characters. that clarity of thought.
It's just hilarious.
Or purpose.
I love it. Like, cuts back to the scene, and there's the on fire rabbit.
Yeah.
And he puts it on the ground and stomps on it. And she walks in and she's just like,
"Did you even skin it?"
Yeah. He's like, "No."
Like the fur catches on fire and he's stomping on it. She just drops all the sticks in her hand. Like it has that look on her face like, "Oh God." Like she looked so exasperated. It was so funny.
Like, what did you do as a squire for Tyrion?
Yeah.
Mostly I brought him wine.
Yeah. I brought his meals. I cleaned up after him. I carried messages. Mostly I poured wine. I cleaned his armor. It's like, did he ever do anything in combat?
Right.
Like, well, I killed a Kingsguard at Blackwater.
How did you kill a Kingsguard at the Blackwater?
I pushed a spear through the back of his head. And then she looks at him like,
"Okay.
Oh, help me get this armor off."
Right. So yeah, we had a little more character building between the two of them.
And I'm really enjoying Gwendolyn Christie's performance as Brienne. Like, she was very kind of stiff at first. The character was. I think she's obviously a good actress, but now that we're starting to kind of see more from her, like the more nuance of emotion. Especially the last few episodes, like when she said goodbye to Jaime, like there was that just range of emotions going across her face, and you could really read every single one of them.
Right.
This one, it's like she's exasperated, then she's also kind of like you can see she's starting to be a little endearing towards him. I'm really enjoying her performance. I think they picked the perfect actress to play her. I'm really happy that she's going to kind of be like a main character on her own now, instead of being a tag along with Catelyn or with Jaime.
Right.
Like now she's got her own story.
She's got her quest and what she's on. And they said they were going to were they going to the Black Wall first?
Yeah, they're going to
Jon first.
Yeah, they're going to the Wall because they're like, well, her only living sibling is at the Wall.
Because they think Bran's dead, yeah.
They think, everybody thinks Bran and Rickon's dead, and everybody thinks Arya's dead. So they're like, well, her only remaining family member is there, so that's where I'd go if I was her.
Right.
So
they're heading to the Wall, I'm pretty sure right now.
So, obviously, nobody knows what Littlefinger's up to.
Right.
And nobody will know, because he's Littlefinger.
He's fucking Littlefinger, yeah.
And the only way we know is because he tells us. Because he confides in the audience.
Because there's that fourth wall.
I swear to God, there are times where I'm sure he's looking straight through the TV at me and going, "I killed him."
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, oh, maybe I had something to do with that.
Interesting, the story, how this death benefited me so much.
So I think that's pretty much everything that happened in this episode.
Him and his ever-changing accent.
Yes, definitely. I don't know why it does it, but it does. It definitely does.
It was like sort of British at first, and it kind of got a little bit like almost Scottish, then it was very Irish, and now it almost sounds Italian.
Right.
Like.
And I wonder if they're doing it on purpose.
Like he's a chameleon? Yeah,
kind of to keep you thrown off guard, you know what I mean?
I think it's
keep
possible.
The audience thrown off guard.
There's an episode, not the next one, but 2 episodes down, it's called Mockingbird. And that's like his symbol, his pin is a mockingbird. That's his like house symbol he's chosen for himself. Because he didn't come from a royal house.
Right.
He came from nothing. And he built himself up through being the smartest guy in the room.
Right.
So I'm curious as to what else is planned for him this season. It's like he's got an episode named after him, so shit's gonna go down.
That's gonna be a good episode. I have a feeling. I have a feeling that's gonna be a good episode.
Yeah, there's also an episode. Episode I think 8 or 9 is called "The Mountain versus the Viper."
Ooh. Interesting.
We know who they are.
Yeah, that's gonna be good. That's definitely gonna be good.
So, got a lot to look forward to. Still got 5 more Spoilercasts this season. We're halfway home.
We're halfway home. This is the halfway point of the season.
Yeah, a lot of shit's happened. It feels like it's already been a whole season. It's we're only halfway. I feel like we're talking so much about this shit. It's like, damn.
Well, it drives everything home. So having to sit down right after watching it and talk about it. You know?
It's fun. It's a good time, and I hope you guys are having a good time too.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what we're here for. You guys have comments of your own. You got your own theories. If we're wrong about stuff, people have corrected me in the past too about things I said that was wrong.
Right.
I pronounced things wrong.
It happens.
It helps. It helps when people if you know more than me and you correct me, that's how I learn.
Right, exactly.
But please share with us your theories. Comment on Facebook, on Twitter. You can go to our website, podcastofdoom.com. You can go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/podcastofdoom. We have all the Spoilercasts up there in YouTube form with pretty pictures. And
Brienne with Deal With It glasses on.
I think that's my default image of Brienne now, is Brienne wearing the Deal With It sunglasses. Because you got to deal with it when Brienne's around.
Yeah. So we want to thank you guys again for listening. If you enjoy the Spoilercast and you haven't heard it, go listen to our podcast, the Podcast of Doom, as well.
Yep. Going strong. We just reviewed Amazing Spider-Man 2.
We did.
Talked about some cute foxes on a trampoline. It was a good episode.
So on half of the Doom City Podcast of Doom family, it's about everything, man. This is the Spoilercast, but this is about everything. My name is Friar Dan once again.
I'm that guy Todd.
And we'll see you next time.
You listen or you die. Listen.